special opportunity for me. I had a chance to meet her sister many, many years ago. She was Michelle, played for Gonzaga basketball, and even at that time, that young lady was a warrior. She was class act. She came to work every day and had a big smile on her face and got it done. And that's her sister. Many years later, I had a chance to hear Scotty speak and to hear his story. What an amazing story of service that he offers to us, and we get to learn from every day. Then through him, I finally got the chance to meet Tiffany and her family. Great people, solid to the core, hardworking, smart. I mean, what more of an opportunity do we need? We have the need to make a change. That's an obvious given. I think everybody here would be in agreement there. But to have an opportunity to have a person like Tiffany Smiley. If you watch the show, if you've ever watched the show Mulan, you've heard the term, a girl like that doesn't come around every day. So here we are. This is the right gal for the right job. I'm so excited to be a part of it. I hope everybody they know, get on the phone, get those voters out, and we'll elect the next U.S. Senate, Tiffany Smiley. To introduce Pierce County Executive Bruce Gammeyer.
Great, it is awesome to be here tonight. Tiffany, speaking on behalf of Pierce County, we are so honored that you chose Pierce County to be your last event of this successful election season. What do you think about that? And Tiffany, speaking on behalf of all of us, we want to thank you for the race you've done. Thank you for standing up and talking about the issues that are important to our community. That when the Democrats flood the economy with government money, they have inflation that hurts all of us. When President Biden attacks the petroleum industry and the price of gas goes up. And thank you for talking about the crime that has enveloped our country and even in Pierce County. So thank you for talking about the important issues that our community, our nation needs to address. And I would tell you that we are indeed fortunate. A candidate like Tiffany does not come around very often, as John said. And here's what is exciting to me. That Tiffany has united Republicans and Democrats who know that when the country is going in the wrong way, that 30 years of representation in the U.S. Senate, it's time for a change.
Yeah!
In Washington, D.C., we need Tiffany Smiley in the Senate. And Tiffany, you and your team, your family, Scotty and the kids, you guys have worked so hard. And we are so appreciative. But the only bad news I have for you is there's no rest in the future. Because as you get ready to represent us in the Senate, we know you're going to fight hard. Just like you did for Scotty with the VA, just like you've been in this campaign. So thank you for that, Tiffany. And now it is my pleasure to introduce U.S. Senator from the state of Montana, Steve Daines. The thing you should know about Steve is in his seat, he was the first Republican to hold this seat in 100 years. Thank you so much. Thank you. We love Washington. What a great state. I remember the days coming out here as a little kid, watching Jim Zorn and Steve Largent. And I gotta tell you,
I never dreamed of being on the same stage as John Stockton over here. This is a basketball legend over here. His daughter played at Montana State University. Lindsay is, and John actually coached over there as well. So, John, thanks for all you have done for athletics and for our country and for Gonzaga and so forth. A round of applause for John Stockton. Over the course of the last 10 days, I've been going all across the country, standing shoulder to shoulder with these great candidates running for the United States Senate. I've been in Georgia, shoulder to shoulder with Herschel Walker. Can I tell you something? Herschel Walker's going to win that race tomorrow. And then up to Ohio with J.D. Vance. You're going to be calling him Senator Vance here on Wednesday, I guarantee you that. And then we came out west. For the last 72 hours, I was down in Arizona with Blake Masters. That race is closing. I think we're going to win Arizona. I was in Nevada yesterday with Adam Laxalt. I think we're going to win Nevada. But I will tell you something. I saved the best for last. Yeah! Now somebody's got a sign. What's that say there? It says, there's a new mom in town. I'm calling Chuck Schumer and telling him there's a new senator in town. Yeah! But let me tell you for a moment why this race is so important. Clearly, it's important for the state of Washington. Patty Murray has been in Washington as a senator for 30 years. When she ran in 1992, that was the same year that Bill Clinton was the Time Person of the Year. That was a long time ago. But when I go back to Washington a week from today, I'll fly back to Washington from Montana. I walk onto the floor of a 50-50 tied U.S. Senate. If you look at American history, we've never had that narrow of a margin in terms of 50-50 for this long period of time in our nation's history. Now, do you remember your high school government class? And they will tell you when there's a tie in the U.S. Senate, we don't break the tie by flipping a coin. How do we break a tie?
Vice President.
The Vice President is the President of the Senate. So Kamala Harris is notified up in the White House. She drives up to Capitol Hill and she casts the deciding vote. By the way, that terrible so-called Inflation Reduction Act, how's that working for you, by the way? No! That was a 50-50 tie. And Kamala Harris came down to the floor and broke the tie, and that's how it got passed. If you look at the history of vice presidents in our nation, there have been 49 vice presidents since this great nation was founded. In less than 2 years, Kamala Harris has broken more ties than any vice president but 2 in just 2 years. In fact, it's John Adams and John Calhoun have broken more ties. I share that little bit of American history with you because we're going to make history here in Washington, because I'll tell you why. We can either break the tie by having Kamala Harris come up to Washington, or how about we send Tiffany Smiley to some And I've had a chance to spend time with their incredible family. Listen, Tiffany Smiley and her family, and Scotty and the boys here, that's God's blessing and gift to us. And we're grateful that they are willing to do this on behalf of us. But listen, but we are counting. This is the homework assignment tonight. Is the nation is counting on you. I can't vote here in Washington. You can. And this red wave is developing as we speak. It will not materialize unless we show up and we vote. This is one of those races that may indeed come down to a few votes in each precinct. It's imperative, it's critical that not only you vote. I'm not worried about the folks who showed up, I'm worried about the folks that didn't show up.
Yeah.
I had a car driver that took me out to meet the bus, to meet the tour this morning. I asked the driver, he was an Army veteran, a great patriot, thinks Tiffany Smiley is wonderful. I said, so I assume you voted? And he said, no, I haven't voted yet. He said, my ballot's sitting on the kitchen table. And I know you're all shocked, but listen, there are thousands and thousands of Washingtonians as we speak tonight where they're going to vote for Tiffany Smiley, but it doesn't count unless you cast that vote. So I'm counting on you, I'm counting on all of us to get this done because so much matters. One Senate seat. If we were one Senate seat down right now, D.C. would be a state. The Supreme Court would be packed with 4 additional liberal justices. Puerto Rico would be a state. Your taxes would dramatically have increased, and we would not have stopped initially that $5 trillion Build Back Broke bill that Biden tried to jam through earlier this year. That's what's at stake. We need you. Now, you've been polled plenty, but we have one more poll tonight. So we brought some decibel meters here to measure sound. So the question is, now the decibel meters are working, right? Yep, they're nodding their head, they're ready to go. We're going to measure by sound because you're going to have a chance to vote here tonight with applause and shouting. How many of you are planning to vote for Tiffany Smiley for the United States Senate? Yeah! Called the race, I think, with that. So it is my honor to introduce to you the next United States Senator from the great state of Washington, Tiffany Smiley.
Thank you. I see all of you. You are here because, like our family believed 18 months ago, that Washington State was worth fighting for. We didn't need to look at polls. We didn't need to have $1 million backers behind us to know it was the right thing to do. But we are here, and we have heavy lifted Washington State onto the national radar because of each one of you, who either donated to my campaign, shared the message with your hairdresser or your dentist, who said, no, there is hope for Washington State. Come on, come with us. So we are neck and neck. In fact, the most recent poll, I am surging and leading Senator Murray. But that is only because of all of you. So thank you for being in this fight with our family. As all of you know, we were never able to back down from our challenges. We've had to take them head on at every point in our life. I was born and raised in this state. I love this state. I always say the good Lord put me here. I'm going to stay and fight for this beautiful state. At 23 years old, I resigned from my nursing job here in Washington State. My husband had deployed from Fort Lewis, Washington. We thought our American dream was ahead of us, but it all came to a screeching halt on April 6th of 2005. I took a one-way flight out to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, where I didn't know if I was going to meet my husband dead or alive. I was 23, I had student loan debt and a car payment. And when I walked into his trauma care unit, he was in a coma. One thing was certain, the suicide bomber that he was negotiating with in service to our country had detonated his car. And the shrapnel from that detonation obliterated both of Scotty's eyes. Whether he lived or died, he would forever be blind. That's the day the Army came at me, and VA officials came at me, and they said, Mrs. Smiley, you're going to have to sign this paperwork. Transition Scotty into the VA system, and we'll find him a long-term care facility. I said, no way. I believed in something better. I was a voice for Scotty when he didn't have one. I was fighting for his life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Yeah!
I refused to sign that paperwork. They pushed it in front of me. They said, Mrs. Smiley, everyone signs this. And I said, well, I will be the first one to not sign it. We built a coalition who believed in this crazy idea that a blind person could stay on active duty. As many of you know, Scotty, who's with us here tonight, went on to become the first active duty blind officer to ever serve our country. So when I was taking on the Army, there was 0% chance. They had never had someone blind continue on active duty. So you know what? We got the job done there. I like our odds in Washington State a whole lot better.
Yeah!
Scotty went on to serve for over a decade completely blind. Once he was well, I knew I had to go back and take on the VA. So I went back and I took on the VA. You know, Senator Murray likes to spend millions of dollars to spread the picture and smear campaign of me and Donald Trump all over Washington State. That's how she started in June. But do you know I was meeting with Donald Trump on behalf of every Democrat, every Republican, and every independent service member in their family. Senator Murray doesn't show you the picture of me and her. And she doesn't want you to hear her 2018 Senate floor speech, where she says Tiffany is an amazingly effective advocate. I'm glad that I have her endorsement.
Yeah!
But I want you to know, that's who I am. I will work with anyone to deliver positive results for all of you here in Washington State. That is what you deserve.
Yeah!
So I have been at this for 18 months, listening to the voices of the voters here in Washington State. We are connecting on common ground. Over a year ago, Washington families were worried about the rising cost of living, gas prices, fentanyl crisis in every single community. Every single room I go into, someone is affected by the fentanyl crisis in Washington State. Senator Murray is not talking about these issues. That's why we are gaining ground. We have a plan to turn crisis into hope for all of Washington State. You know, I know the press likes to talk about Senator Murray's seniority. But if seniority really mattered, why did she not stand up for us? If seniority really mattered, why didn't she stand up for our children and parents at a time when we needed leadership the most? If seniority mattered, why did she have a VA system that was not ready for our family when we needed the care the most? If seniority really mattered, why didn't she stop the American Rescue Plan that's caused the greatest inflation that we have seen in a generation?
Yeah!
Washington State does not need seniority. Washington State deserves someone with motivation and principle. And when you send me to D.C., that's exactly what I will take to the halls of Congress. Senator Murray stood with President Joe Biden with the American Rescue Plan and said, we're in a better place now. Are you in a better place?
No!
We're worse off. She allowed $1 billion to go to criminals like Larry Nassar and the Boston bomber. She took it a step further with the Inflation Reduction Act, which does nothing to reduce inflation. That's not coming from me, that's coming from the CBO, the Nonpartisan Budget Office. It raises taxes on all of us, 87,000 IRS agents, and Senator Murray was the deciding vote for the excise tax on natural gas, so heading into winter, your energy costs are going up. I don't like being the bearer of bad news, but hope is on the horizon. When you send me to DC, I'm going to work hard to rein in this out-of-control spending. I will certainly work hard to permanently extend the 2017 tax cuts for the middle class, and I will work my hardest to stop the 87,000 IRS agents from coming after you or any of our small businesses.
Yeah!
to be audited by the IRS. That's who I'm standing up for. Senator Murray waged war on our American energy independence. She shut it down, billions of dollars of wages, and she gave it to enemy countries that hate us. And you know, I share all over Washington State. I was born and raised on a farm. I love our land. I love our environment, and we should protect it. But last time I checked, enemy countries don't have environmental standards. Right. So if Senator Murray really cared about the environment, she would unleash our American energy independence right here in the United States of America.
Yeah!
Instead, she chose to take maxed out donations from the Nord Stream 2 pipeline lobbyists. What a DC thing to do. She would rather line her pockets than lower our gas prices. My plan calls for unleashing American energy independence to lower gas prices for you immediately with a long-term, all-of-above, clean energy approach. We have an opportunity to lead the country from right here in Washington State. You know, just a few weeks ago, I'll never forget this. I saw two little girls in the Kent Safeway parking lot, outside their car, playing with dolls. It was clear it was their backyard. They were living out of their car. And it wasn't safe. There were security guards at both entrances of this Safeway. But the mom was inside trying to get food to make ends meet for the night. That woman does not need Senator Murray's electric vehicle voucher. That woman needs gas prices to be lower, food prices to be lower, and a hand up in this country.
Yeah! Yeah!
That's who I'm fighting for. When we talk about crime, every community in Washington State is affected. Not just Seattle. Senator Murray, in June of 2020, took to the Senate floor, called for funds to be diverted from our police force, and then she disappeared and she went into hiding. In fact, people say, we didn't see or hear from her, Tiffany, until she came out attacking you in June. What a bad look. 30 years. 30 years in the Senate, and you cannot come back and talk about what you delivered to Washington State. You have to come back and spend millions of dollars to paint a family who served and sacrificed for this country as a threat to democracy. Enough. Enough. I'm honored to be endorsed by WACOPS and Fraternal Order of Police here in Washington State. They know that I have their backs, and I will work hard to ensure that our police are fully funded, that they have every resource they need to keep our communities safe. At the federal level, I will make sure that they have access to federal grants for $5,000 retention and recruiting bonuses, because we need more cops in Washington State. We need good cops here in Washington State.
Yeah!
Crisis, Senator Murray does not address this at all. Over the last 18 months, in every single room I've gone into, I've heard a story that breaks my heart. Every week I hear of someone going to a funeral. It's not just in our homeless encampments, it's in our schools, and it's killing our kids. Senator Murray held a roundtable here in Washington State, and then she went back to DC and she held a hearing. Another DC thing to do. Because hearings do not save lives. Taking action does. I went down to the southern border to see it with my own eyes. I was shocked. I got on a boat, my driver started putting on a bulletproof vest, and I asked him, do you have another one? A mom with 3 young boys? He's like, no, you'll be fine. I didn't tell Scotty until after I returned from the trip. But I was shocked to see the cartel towers and the tin boats. Now, my driver told me after 6 p.m. these tin boats are loaded full of drugs and pushed across the river. He said it's that easy. When I met with Border Patrol agents and law enforcement agencies down there at the border, they said, Tiffany, you know our greatest roadblock to saving lives and stopping this? It's Washington, D.C. He said, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, I'm excited to see a fresh new face who will go fix this instead of playing politics with our border and our children. Stop the flow of fentanyl from coming into Washington State and killing our kids. Senator Murray doesn't want to talk about it. I had to ask her, did you go to the southern or northern border, Senator Murray? All of you in this room know she ran as the mom in tennis shoes She's going to fight for our children's education. She's not the mom in tennis shoes anymore. Our children have fallen behind under her watch. We were an F average here in Washington State in our education system prior to the pandemic. And when asked on CNN, Senator Murray, given what we know now, the plummeting test scores, childhood anxiety, self-harm, suicide rates on the rise, do you have any regrets with how you handled the pandemic? No, she said, we followed the science and we did what was best. You can ask any parent across Washington State. I saw what it did to my kids. And you know what I thought? What's happening to everyone else? And who is fighting for them? So there is a new mom in town. Who will actually put our children first. The children, not the system, that parents have a choice in Washington State where they send their kids for education. And I will work hard to decrease the stigma that college is for everyone. Because here in Washington State, I've talked to contractors all over this amazing state who have apprenticeship programs that are empty. We need to make sure that we are exposing our children to trades at a much younger age. Because there are multiple pathways to the American dream in this country, and I want to lead from the front right here in Washington State. You know, never in a million years did our family think that our life would lead into politics, but here we are. And truly, you know, we built a beautiful life. Blood, sweat, and tears. It wasn't easy. But I think we're living proof that the American dream is alive and well. And when we were trying to decide about getting into this race, you know, we just moved or built a house in our hometown here in Washington State. And we weren't moving. The military had us moving 8 times in 10 years. We've been all over. All 3 of our amazing sons are born in different cities across the United States. It was Scotty. He said, Tiffany, there is one person who can beat Patty Murray in Washington State. And I hate to tell you, honey, but it's you. He said, you kicked me out of that hospital bed and you believed that I had purpose. Not just purpose, but you believed in so much more for me than what anyone else did. Go do that for Washington State. So here we are, on the cusp of retiring Patty Murray. You know, a reporter, our team, my team is amazing. They're all here around. If you guys see them, shake their hands. We're not doing this alone. I have an awesome team who's out working every single day to get this job done. And we were all out to dinner one night, the other night, and my comms director, Elisa, who's a military spouse, you know, when I went to hire her, she's like, well, I have 4 kids and we're going here and there. I said, you're hired. I know what military spouses can do. She said, oh my goodness, a reporter just texted me. Dave Matthews Band was having a concert at the Climate Pledge Arena just the other night. She goes, this reporter just texted me. He told the crowd, I'm voting for Patty Murray and so should all of you. And he got booed. In the heart of Seattle. So she was reaching out to say, good luck. I think you might be winning this race. So it is time. I cannot do this alone. I have not done this alone. I need each and every one of you. You know, my hero, and of course I love her quotes, is Mother Teresa. She knew her purpose on this earth, and she did it with incredible love. But she says, you can do things that I can't do. I can do things that you can't do. But together, we can do great things.
Amen.